is a video where I teach you how I made my 18th century bodice and stomacher for my Outlander project. If you want to see how I made this, then keep watching. So the bodice pattern just arrived in the mail. I'm going to be using that pattern. My issue is I've never used a pattern before and I don't know how to read this. So I'm going to have to ask my mum to help me figure out what this means. So I'm using this nice material to do it. I've cut all my pieces out and now I'm just slowly following the instructions. This is what I've got so far. I decided to do the lining layer first so I can make my mistakes on the inside and not have it shown on the outside. I do want to make a few adjustments because I'm not sure this is the right shape, because when I put this flat on the front, you can see that the back has heaps of space. I think it was made with a slightly bigger waist to match the rest of my body size. Editing mode here. That turned out not to be true, and I explain in a minute what actually happened. But I really like how this lining looks, and the front looks good. I had a bit of trouble with putting the sleeves on, but it ended up with the dart at the front. I didn't like the dots, which I should have done. Don't think you're smarter than the pattern, especially the first time that you're using a pattern. It looks pretty good so far. I'm going to make the outside out of this. I'm not sure how much I have of it, so we're going to see how much this I can do. It's about 50% wool, 50% polyester. This fabric's like $25 a metre. And as you can see here, I did mark the dots on the wool. I did do it in Sharpie, which is questionable, but I learned from my mistakes and I did not want to get that wrong. All the pieces are assembled, so far so good, you can't really tell it's sliding. Well, let's just do this shape on that centre back seam. Once I've got the channels, I'm gonna put right sides together and flip it inside out. So the instructions say to make 1 centimetre wide boning channels in the back seam, but this boning is 1/8 of an inch wide, I'm pretty sure, so that's not gonna fit in a 1 centimetre boning channel. Okay, so it's about 3/8 of an inch, which isn't what I wanted. That might be the reason why it's a bit not well fitting here. It's a bit looser. I'll get back to that. I hope not, because otherwise I've been doing my seam allowances all wrong. Hi, so it's editing mode here. I just wanted to clarify why my seams weren't the right width. On my sewing machine, on the working area of it, there's a little grid that helps you identify how big your seam allowances are going to be. But you can also move the needle left and right, and the default setting on my sewing machine has the needle set sort of in the centre rather than to the far left, which is where the ruler measures the seam allowances from. The edges of the seams were lined up with the marking on the ruler that said 5/8 of an inch, and I sewed it like that, but the needle wasn't in line with the start of the ruler, so there was a gap of about 2/8 of an inch, which means that all my pieces were slightly larger than they were meant to be, and all my seams were slightly smaller than they needed to be. So when you add up all the seams that are on the bodice, there are quite a few. All those 1/4 inch mistakes start to add up really quickly, and that's why it didn't quite fit. That's why they weren't quite the right size. Now you can go back to the video. So what I've done is right sides together, I've sewn the lining to the outside fabric. I just cut multiple zip ties to the same length and then put them in the same boning channel, which works pretty well, and it looks, you can't tell really difference. So before I press and stitch everything in place, I just want to check that it all fits and is where it's supposed to be. I just turned it right sides out. I think the colour contrast looks really good. Cool. It is a bit stiff, but I assume that's because it's wool. Definitely going to have to press this. So far it does fit. So I decided that because my outer fabric is wool, it's not going to iron well. So instead I'm going to stitch around the outside really close to the edge, so it will look really neat and crisp and flat. Since you last saw me, I turned the bodice right sides together, sewed the sleeves together on the inside and then flipped it inside out. I will just do the same thing that I did for the outside and just pin it and stitch it so that the lining is just barely visible. Hi! So, what I've just been doing is stitching in boning channels, and I put the boning in for the front for where it's going to be laced up. So now it's been about 2 or 3 days because I got really sick randomly all of a sudden. But anyway, now I'm going to work on the rest of the bodice. All I need to do today is hem the bottom of the bodice, and I need to put the eyelets in. I'm thinking I'm going to do hand done eyelets because it looks a bit nicer, it's more historically accurate, and while the back of the corset is metal eyelets, it's not going to be seen. I've quickly hand sewn the edge so that the lining is hidden and it's not sticking out. So this is what the other sleeve looks like. The seam allowance pushes out the lining, so there's a massive difference in how they look. I am going to do the crisscross lacing rather than the spiral lacing because I decided that I'm not being 100% historically accurate anyway. I'm just going to go for what looks prettier. Also in Outlander they do have bodices and dresses that have crisscross lacing, and so I'm sort of more going off Outlander. I'm going to do 7 on each side because that's what they have in the pattern, which means it'll be about 2 inches apart. So today I'm finishing off the eyelets. They're very large because this lacing doesn't have aglets at the end, and I tried melting the ends, but turns out it doesn't melt, it just burns. It is really pretty, so I really want to use this if I can. It does match this really well as well, but because I don't have aglets and I haven't melted the ends, it can't go through small points. So it's got tape at the end, but it can't go through tiny points, so it has to go through larger points. So I've done one side. This one's really high. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. So I just finished all the eyelets and I did the hem. So it's been a few days and my bodice is done, but I have to do my stomacher. I was watching Mariah Paddy's video on Claire's bodices, So Mariah's video gives an in-depth look into Claire's bodices through seasons 1 and 2, and my costume is based on Outlander season 1, which is before she gets all fancy and moves to France and dresses up. It's a bit more working class, or sort of a bit more lower down. It's not regal or anything particularly fancy. And I noticed that most of Claire's stomachers are natural linens, simple basic materials and all that kind of stuff, because I realised obviously working class women didn't have time to make fancy items of clothing because they were too busy, you know, farming and trying to get food on the table. I'm going to take my cotton poplin and dye it to look a bit more coffee coloured, sort of natural. These are the swatches of the fabrics that I used for the bodice, and I just want to find something that's similar coloured to the lining, sort of closer to these darker lines. This is a piece of cotton poplin, so these are the three together. You can't really tell on camera very well, but this is very yellow. I don't want the stomacher to be yellow, obviously, because none of Claire's stomachers are yellow. They're either like a light grey or a cream or a white. Basically, I'm going to be dyeing some fabric for a stomacher to make it look like Claire's because it's too yellow. I'm going to cut this stomacher shape out of the fabric. I might make it a little bit bigger just in case it shrinks in the hot water, but I doubt it. But it's better to be safe than sorry. And then once I do that, I will put it in the hot water. So I started off with 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, which isn't as good at dyeing as just regular ground coffee beans, but I didn't have those on hand. And after a while, it didn't really seem like it had done much, so I put in some cocoa powder and some tea bags and let it sit overnight. And when I took it out, it hadn't changed much, but it was definitely less yellow. Hey, so I'm back. It's been a few days. This is all dry. This is how it turned out. But when you put it up to a piece of the original, you can tell that it's darker. Anyway, today I'm going to be making the stomacher, and it really shouldn't take that long. Cool, I'm just going to get started. I did that. So I'm going to just clip the edges and the corners and then turn it, and then I'll get back to you. Hello, I'm back. I've done a little bit of work on it, but I haven't done heaps. I also got these at Kmart for like $5, and I thought these will go really, really well with my my bodice, because Claire often wears these like knitted mitts with a thumb hole that go up to like her elbow. These aren't quite as long, but I was thinking of making some, but I have to knit some. And then I found these and thought, wow, that's awesome. So I've got those 4 bones. I pinned this here because it turns out I didn't iron it properly at the top. So I'm about a third of the way through, and I was looking at photos of Claire's stomacher that goes with her brown bodice, and it's purely made of vertical lines. There aren't any diagonal lines. That last clip was filmed in June, and it is now 2 weeks into December, because that is how delayed my editing process is. But I'm here to review. There is a lot of visible stitching that is very ugly. Some of it, like at the bottom here,
is faced towards me, and then I put it underneath the skirt so you can't actually see it. But there is some stuff like at the top there that is visible. However, the lacing sort of covers it up, or at least distracts you from it, so it's not too noticeable. There are also visible overlaps and places where you can clearly tell that new boning has been put in, but it's not that bad. I'm still proud of this though. It's really fun to just like roll in your hands. It feels like a bamboo sushi rolling mat. It's a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be originally, because I was like, oh, they're tiny little zip ties, but they're really like, they form really nicely. The actual lacing is fine. I still just have tape on the ends instead of aglets. I love the back, and it looks awesome over the top of my stays because it completely flattens out. Like, they almost look like really stiff panels, like that sort of thing. The bodice seems to collect a lot of like stuff, like cat hair, lint. I'm really proud of this cover up. It's not too visible on the front, and it's normally covered up by part of the fichu anyway. And then on the inside, obviously you're not going to see the inside, so I don't care that much. I love this interior fabric. It's so pretty and I want to make everything out of it. It was cool because, like the corset, I got to use a lot of pattern pieces where there were very precise shapes. I was disappointed though that I wasn't paying attention to my sewing machine and I messed up the seams. It's not that bad, it's just sort of noticeable in the front. I can tighten the bottom all the way to touching, and I can probably do the majority of it all the way to touching if I tried, but that's the main part that you can tell that that's there. I love this. I love the colour. I have this Outlander colour scheme that I'm going for. I'll put it up here somewhere. This is a main component in it, and this also goes with the theme as well as this. That's all I've got today. I hope you enjoyed it. There's more to come in this series, so if you want to keep on top of that, you can subscribe to me, and also I will put the playlist at the end of the video. I will also put my last video, which I think was the petticoats, there as well. If you enjoyed it, then feel free to like the video, and please tell me what you think about it. That's all. Bye!
Oh my god, I literally did the thing that I was about to do earlier. Shit, there's milk in my floor and on my shoes and on my belt. No! And because I'm wearing the stays under my bodice, and then I had enough fabric for like if something didn't work, yes, hiccups, you can't defeat me. So now it's like it's okay, it's not going to catch on fire or anything. My chair is so squeaky. I forgot what I was going to say. I've ironed it.
But it was definitely yes Lolo. There was a lot of it was cool because I got to the words. My voice is doing something weird. My glasses are so glary. I'm trying to like look at the camera. You know, it reflects up there, and you know, so I'm talking in very specific. I'm just gonna take them off. I can sort of see. It's fine. I wonder how long it's gonna take me to edit the next video. Probably a while. Why is my voice like this? I sound like I was gonna say I sound like corpse, but I do not sound like corpse at all. Okay, I need the fan back on because I'm boiling. I've got the hottest room in the house. So it got to 32 degrees today, I'm pretty sure. There's no way in hell that I'm putting on this woolen bodice and all the underlayers at the start of an Australian summer. Yeah, there's no way I'm putting it on right now.